Flails are one of the most underrated weapons in Elden Ring, and I'm going to be showing you my build that makes Flails one of the most overpowered weapons in the game. So Flails usually have bad scaling in strength and dex, and that's their only scaling. And by putting affinities on it, such as lightning, since it's primarily a dex weapon, doesn't really help it at all. But putting sacred on it and giving it a faith scaling, actually it gives it loads of damage, and I managed to get 400 holy damage and 200 physical damage. And since most people don't resist holy damage, that is a lot of holy damage. You can also power stance 2 of them, which is what I'm doing, and this build has a ton of weapons and utility. So of course you've got the power stance, then you can switch your offhand weapon to a shield for golden parry, or if you don't like golden parry, you can also use golden holy ground, which is when you lift up your shield and around you becomes a healing aura. And then in your final slot is the urge tree seal, which is where you're going to be casting your spells, since it has an S rating in faith. The armor is totally optional, but I would recommend to use the bucket hat, or as it's called, the great helm, since it just matches a crusader build so well. And for your talismans, you want Radagon Seal to give you more stats so we can pump more levels into faith, so we can reach 80 faith. You want the Urge Tree Favor to give us more health and more stamina, the Green Turtles Charm to give us more stamina regeneration, and finally the most important charm, the Holy Scorpion Charm. This is why we deal so high damage. It increases our holy damage, but we do take more holy damage. But it doesn't matter, since if we're versing another holy build, they will too have this charm and take more holy damage, so we can do even more damage to them. With the weapons, the Ash of War doesn't really matter, but I would recommend going for Holy Ashes of War, which these Ashes of War actually scale with faith, so that includes anything that looks like Sacred Blade, really. That's the main one we're going to be using. This scales with faith, so of course you're going to be doing insane Sacred Blade damage, and you can do upwards of 700 damage with just the projectile. If you hit the mace as well, upwards of 1000 damage. You get similar damage with jump attacks, upwards of like 1500, and you've got the ability to cast spells. I recommend using Urge Tree Blessing. This spell gives you a nice regeneration buff, and for your main damaging spell, I would recommend to use Elden Stars. You can use any other spells with these too. I use some of the Crucible spells. You can also use spells such as Malekith's Black Blade, which is really good for PvE, and with Elden Stars, you can cast it, and it's a projectile that follows the player, which does a ton of chip damage, since it shoots tons of mini projectiles that are almost guaranteed to hit some of them. And the power stance moveset on the maces is so weird, but it works so well, because all the power stancing movesets in the game have 2 hits guaranteed. So this weapon's power stancing moveset is slow, but this is an extremely good thing, because it increases the stun time on enemies, so you can stun them to get a guaranteed Elden Star hit, which makes a massive explosion, which is great for invasions, and in duels it would usually one-shot people, so overall it's extremely powerful. The sprinting attack as well is so good, and since the second attack comes out so slowly, if they walk out the way or dodge the first one a bit too early and they come in, the second one is almost guaranteed to hit. The charged heavies on the mace, or just the normal heavies, are so good for roll catching. You spin the mace before releasing it, and it deals really high damage, and if they try and dodge around you and stay near you because they want to be aggressive, you can punish them with a heavy, and it's so much damage. That's really it for the build. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a quick one, but I really think you should try out Flails for the first time. Definitely use Healy, and I would recommend not. The main reason I think people sleep on this weapon is it's a bleed weapon, but it's outdone by so many other bleed weapons, and if you're using Dex, as I said at the start of the video, which is the best weapon scaling by just looking at it, you'll do way less damage than other weapons. But if you play it how I played it and make the same build, you'll be dealing good damage, and it'll be extremely fun to play. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.